not easy being a woman in the Japanese imperial family. Yesterday, the Empress Michiko was the latest family member to buckle. Australian author Ben Hills exposed the tragic life of Crown Princess Masako in his controversial book, which is still causing a stir, and he joins us today to explain. Ben, your book created an international scandal. For those of us who don't know the story of Masako, can you fill us in on the story?
Sure. Look, Princess Masako is probably one of the best and brightest women that Japan has produced. I'm really not exaggerating. She speaks 6 languages.
She's a Harvard graduate?
Harvard graduate and Oxford. Well, she didn't graduate, but she also attended Oxford and Tokyo University. High flyer in the Foreign Affairs Department. She was widely expected to be the first ever woman to head a Japanese government department. So I was up there when she got married in 1993. I was based there for the Sydney Morning Herald and The Age as a Japan correspondent. And I remember thinking as I saw the carriage riding along the streets with her with a tiara on, the little smile, the wave, I remember thinking, why on earth would a brilliant woman like you want to bury yourself over the moat in this antique
was
sort
she
of
well
monastery?
aware of what she was getting into?
I think she obviously knew what the royal family was and what she was buying.
Did she realise what it would do to her life?
I don't think she did. I think the Crown Prince Naruhito, her husband, promised her that he could change things.
And protect her.
Protect her and make things better for her.
It was interesting when Naruhito asked for Masako's hand in marriage. What was her reply?
Well, she replied in very, very formal, courtly terms. Yes, of course, I accept. But no, it was his promise to her. He said, I will protect you. From who? Protect you from the Kunaisho, the men in black. Exactly, who make their lives an absolute misery.
Can we just make it clear, in your opinion, do you think they were actually in love?
How do you define love?
It seems to me like they were in love, and a lot of women were approached because the prince was getting on, and apparently to marry into this family you cannot have any ear piercings or tattoos, and some women went out and got tattoos or got their ears pierced to get themselves out of the running because they knew what a bad job it was. So she must have had some love in her heart, and she was a very intelligent woman, as you say.
He was head over heels in love with her, there's no doubt about that.
Right.
And he pursued her, and he proposed to her, and she knocked him back, but he wouldn't take no for an answer. And in the end, you know the way things work in Japan, the bureaucrats just put pressure on her and her family and her father.
And let's get to the
It
pressure.
became quite intolerable.
The pressure was mainly because she needed to produce an heir.
A male heir.
A male heir.
That's right.
So then what happened?
Got to be a boy.
Yes.
Well, they tried and tried and tried, and after 9 years, with the help of IVF, I shouldn't say that.
Oh, so
That's what got my book banned in Japan.
Yeah, was it a proud thing? Was it something that the imperial family didn't want to admit that they needed IVF? I mean, because
Yes.
after 9 years, that's a long time.
Look, it's been reported in every country in the world. The book doesn't actually reveal anything new about the IVF procedure, but it's never been allowed to be reported in Japan. And I think the reason is, there's a sort of a cultural prejudice against IVF for some strange reason. I think the thing is that it might be held to imply that the Crown Prince was not quite as fertile as he ought to be.
Right.
Yes.
But so if Masako doesn't produce a male heir, is that the end of the chrysanthemum
Throne?
throne?
No, it's not. A little baby boy was born into the royal family last year, Crown Prince Hisahito.
Which is his younger brother,
That's
his
right,
nephew.
that's right. Now, this has sort of thrown a major spanner in the works because it means now that the crown has to move from one branch of the family to another.
Why cannot they change the rule and have a female empress? We've had Queen Elizabeth, you know, we have
The Japanese
Queen
were
Juliana
long
in the
before
Netherlands.
then, yeah, I'm
Look,
trying
the
to-
Japanese are just about, apart from the Middle East, they're about the only monarchy left that still won't allow a woman to inherit. And they were about to change the law last year. They were about to make it possible for a woman to become the emperor, as had happened. I mean, this has happened many times in Japan's
Was
history.
that prior to the birth of the nephew?
Yes, prior to Hisahito's birth. But then, unfortunately, Hisahito came along, the government changed hands, we now have a very conservative right-wing government in Japan, and so the plans were abandoned. But all they've really done is postpone it, because, I mean, you've now got one little baby.
Yes.
On his shoulders, you've got 2,600 years of Japanese imperial history. Now, I mean, what if he turns out to be gay? What if he
there
turns
you
out to
go.
be infertile?
What if-
if no woman is going to marry him?
What
And
if
after
something
what's
happens
happened
to
to
him?
poor old Massacre, who would blame them for not wanting to marry him? So all they've done really is postpone the problem for a generation.
Now, you talk about the depression of Masako and I guess her life in a gilded cage. How do you know that and what is she suffering?
Well, I've talked to people who are very close to the family and who are close to her courtiers. There's no doubt whatsoever that she's suffering from a very deep depression. She hasn't been seen hardly in public for the last 3 years.
What's her life like where she lives?
She's a prisoner. I mean, she has no identity. She has no surname. She has no mobile phone.
No passport?
She has no passport.
Credit card?
She has no credit card. I mean,
And apparently, a girlfriend of mine was saying it's almost like Central Park in New York, except it's right in the middle of Tokyo. So these massive, beautiful gardens.
in a really popular city.
And then the house or the palace.
That's
is
right,
inside
but the gates and the guards, they're the one thing you notice when you... I've walked around the palace where they live, and there are guards on every gate. They just cannot go anywhere. And even if she did manage to get over the wall, I mean, where is she going to go? She has no identity.
Ben, did her depression start prior to having the child? Because I mean, many people who've had a baby would know that if someone expects a certain sex, that puts a pressure on your pregnancy anyway. And I can't
Yes.
imagine you having to have a male heir.
Yes, no, that's absolutely right. Look, there's no sign, there's no history of mental illness in the family, and there was no sign prior to about 3 years ago that she was going to become unwell.
I think we need to have you come in again. It's just such a complex story. But Ben, for now, I just wanted to thank you for joining us. It's just
An amazing book.
You've really got to read it.